conspiracy theories, the paranormal, UFOs, aliens, and all things strange and unusual. This is Black Lotus. So, recently I was chided on Facebook by one of my friends because I had shared the article that Alex Jones has been thrown in Facebook jail over some of the stuff that he's
for
done.
30 days.
And personally, I don't like Alex Jones in the least. I think the guy is an absolute crackpot, batshit crazy. But anyway, so I had said something about that, and my friend said, well, he must be bad if you're throwing another conspiracy theorist under the bus. And so I wanted to point something out right at the go here, and that's that Ralph and I aren't necessarily conspiracy theorists. We're interested in conspiracy theories and aliens and so on and so forth. But it's not as though we've had personal experiences with a lot of this stuff. So it's not as though we're posing this stuff as the God's truth. It's just that we're reporting it basically. And so whether, our listeners and our viewers believe us or not is not our concern. We're just reporting. Don't shoot us. We're just the messengers, and again, it's because of the fact that we haven't had a lot of experiences with these things. Well, I've never personally seen a Bigfoot. Have you?
No.
Never seen the Loch Ness Monster, none of that. I have theories about certain conspiracy theories, but they're just thoughts. I don't have any personal experience with them. However, Ralph and I both have experience with UFOs and aliens, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So anyway, let's start out with you. You had something happen back when you were a kid, right?
Right. It was a long time ago now, it seems. Wow. I was probably 7 or 8, so it was probably about 68. I was walking down the street, and I was going to visit my friend across the street, Joanne. And there was this big old oak tree, and I looked beyond the oak tree, and I saw something, so I kind of backed up and went around, and it was a cigar-shaped ship. Picture a blimp, mm-hmm. But it was smooth on the bottom. There was no bottom cage.
Okay.
And there didn't really seem to be much of seams, so it was more like almost like a jelly bean floating in the air. If that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a balloon. It was way too big.
How big was it? Do you remember?
When you're looking up in the sky, you have nothing to compare it to.
There's no scale, yeah.
So there wasn't any really scale, but I could tell it was not close, and it was still big. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I knew it had to be something pretty big. And I didn't really think much of it. It was just like, oh, that's a weird kind of ship. Mm-hmm, and mm-hmm. I thought it was some new type of plane or something like that, or a blimp that
especially when you're young, when you're supposed to think,
But then I started hearing later on about cigar-shaped ships and stuff, and how they talked about what they looked like, and I'm like, that's what I saw. That wasn't no blimp or anything like that. I realized, that is what I saw, and about 2 or 3 years later. My family had a summer home and a winter home, and this was in our where we lived permanently. But we ended up selling that house because of all the bad problems that were happening in the neighborhood.
Excuse me.
No problem. We moved down to southern Jersey, and we were having a science day at class. And we were supposed to talk about something unusual or something like that. I don't remember, but it was like a show and tell type thing where we had to talk in science class. And I shared my story about what I saw. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And after class, during lunch, this kid came up to me, and he tells me that he saw the same thing a couple years ago.
Okay.
And nobody would believe him. and he felt so relieved to have somebody else to talk to that believed that he had saw what was not a blimp or a plane or a balloon. It was something very odd. So very, very strange, and also reassuring to talk to somebody a couple years later.
Reassuring is the key word. I think a lot of people who witness these things feel as though they're going crazy. And when if they do talk about their experience with somebody, they're met with a lot of skepticism, and they're people think they're lying, and whether it actually happened or not, whether it was a hallucination or not, it's real to you. So it's good to know that there are sympathetic ears out there,
right?
So.
And it wasn't like I said, or you said that it was an imagination or something. It was something that was definitely there. What it was, I don't know, and I'll probably never know. I mean, that was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
40 something years ago. But yeah, and I thought that was the end of all my weird experiences with UFOs, but I guess not.
Yeah.
After moving to southern Jersey for a while, we decided my dad had worked his way up to the top of the field in his business. He started there sweeping floors and ended up being vice president. So he couldn't go any further without buying the place because the owner was president. So he put his name out there, and we all moved to California. And we had bought a complex, or a house in a complex that was new. And all of us kind of moved in within like a couple of months of each other because we all had to wait for it to be finished, and then boom, everybody moved in. And that was about 74, and we decided to have a block party to kind of like to get to know everybody and introduce ourselves and stuff like that. And we all we lived on a cul-de-sac, which made it nice. So we all pulled out our tables and chairs and stuff, and everybody had a big barbecue and had a big old buffet.
And everybody used to do that back in like the 70s and early 80s. Nobody does that anymore.
No.
People are so...
You don't even know your neighbor anymore.
Yeah, so people are so standoffish anymore toward each other. You just never see it anymore. Anyway, I'm sorry to break in. Go ahead.
That's okay. But you're right. It's a shame that people don't do that anymore. We knew our neighbors. We knew our neighbors' kids. We knew our neighbors' pets.
Sure,
we knew everybody, and that was right there. Yep. And if anything happened or was going on, everybody was there to witness it. And that's exactly what happened. We were all out there, and it was getting dark out. It was not really fully dark, kind of like dusky, where it was just that dark gray. And we were all out there starting to clean up, and I don't even remember who noticed it, but we all looked up, or somebody looked up in the sky and pointed out that there was like 5 little red dots in the sky. And they were kind of moving around weird, and we're like, what is that? Now...
They were moving independently of each other?
They were moving independently of each other. Like, that's why I asked that question to Jason. It's like, were they attached or not? These were obviously not. These were like moving in different patterns and definitely not attached. But as we're all getting our attention to look at it, all of a sudden they all converged together. And they made like what a bird would do, a V.
Okay.
And they swooped down, right over the street and went down our street and disappeared off into, and then went choom, and just disappeared.
When you say they came down over the street, were they very close to you? Could you make out their shape?
They were round red lights.
Okay.
That's all we could tell from them.
So you couldn't make out like a structure to them?
We couldn't make any type of structure out. To me, it almost seemed like the red light was the structure.
Okay, gotcha.
That there wasn't anything really attached to it. It seemed like that they were the thing that it was.
So this wasn't just you witnessing this. You're everybody on your street saw
right.
this
There was probably about 20 people out there, I would say.
Wow.
At least 20 people. So yeah, it was kind of amazing that we all saw it.
Yeah.
And I had always thought I had reported it to Project Blue Book, but doing research and stuff, Project Blue Book ended in 1970.
Right.
So, and I can't figure out what took over. So if anybody out there knows where you were reporting afterwards, let me know, because I distinctly remember after this happening, running to the phone. It was probably about 7:30 at night.
Mm-hmm.
But I called and I asked information for a number for Project Blue Book, and they connected me to somebody immediately when I told them what had happened.
Mm.
And they took all my information and the amount of people that were there and made a whole report online on the phone with me. And of course, I never heard anything more, and we nobody knows what really what happened, but yeah, it was kind of really strange.
That's very strange, and I think it's interesting that you say that it obviously couldn't have been Project Blue Book, but so then who was it? And the fact that they took your information so readily,
right?
I mean, that seems kind of strange to me.
Yeah, I don't know who I was talking to now. And I mean, that was so many years ago. Again, that was 40 years ago.
Yeah, how old were you at that time?
Oh, I was a teenager, so I wasn't even in high school. I was in junior high.
Oh, okay, so like 12, 13.
Yeah, probably about 12 or 13.
Huh.
Because, I mean, we had just moved there, and I did half a year and a full year of junior high there.
Okay.
Moved mid-year.
Now, this was when you lived in Claremont? Is that where you were?
Yeah, this was in Claremont.
Okay,
Claremont, California.
Yeah.
Correct. And we lived right up by the foothills of the mountains, so these things were like over the mountains. And then they just all came down and then kind of like right down the whole street, like a fall of the street, and then just disappeared.
Yeah. We have more stories to come, but I want to remind our listeners and our viewers at Facebook, at YouTube, please like, follow, subscribe to us. And don't forget that we have a page at Facebook that we're on all the time, and we're also at Twitter, so you can follow us there. And I also want to remind you that we have a swag shop now. We have a merch shop, and it's at TeePublic, and we've got all kinds of cool stuff there. We've got hoodies and T-shirts and we've got different types of shirts. We've got tank tops there too, I think, and we also
baseball
have
shirts and
baseball shirts. Yeah, I like the baseball shirts. They're pretty cool, actually. And mugs and travel mugs, and I think we have notepads there, and I think we even have a phone case there now, like for an iPhone. But anyway, it all has our
logo,
Black Lotus logo on it, and which I created myself. But anyway, yeah, so definitely check that out. Also, I want to mention one more thing. We're talking about our own experiences here. If you have an experience that you'd like to share and you want to be on the show, contact us. And I'm going to drop a link for that. And what you do is you go and basically fill out a questionnaire that has I think 4 questions, including your name, and just contact us through that, and we'll get you on the show. And even if you don't think you have a big story to tell, that's okay. We'll put you on one of our shorter shows, kind of like we did with Jason Auchen the other day. His story was quick and easy, and so we were in and out during the interview for 15 minutes, I think. But
we still want to hear other people's stories, and I know there's other people out there who'd like to hear your story too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so again, I'll drop the link down in the description, and you can contact us through that. But anyway, you and I had an experience together.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a UFO experience, but it's definitely something strange.
It was weird. And you look into the abductee cases. And this is exactly what happens. People miss time, and that's what happened with us. We were visiting a friend of yours out in
Oceanside.
Was it Oceanside?
Yeah.
And we were coming back to the Claremont area on the I-10 freeway, and we're talking about quite a distance. It's a good, what would you say? Probably about an hour drive, hour and a half.
Oh, more than that. I think it was closer to 2.5.
Is it? Yeah,
2.5.
But anyway, so yeah, we were out there visiting, and we came back, and we're coming back in the evening. And I remember we were just, I don't know, listening to the radio or something. We weren't really talking. And then next thing you know, we're at the exit. I mean, and it's like, boop, boop. I mean, it was that quick, it seemed.
It was like we were in a trance.
Yeah.
Too. It was like all of a sudden it was like, wait, we're here.
Yeah. And the clock was off, as I recall. So I don't know, man.
It was very odd.
Weird.
It was like I said. It was like we were sitting there. He said, or I mean, we were sitting there listening to music, and then we were there, and it was like being woken up from a dream.
Yeah,
that's when you're almost not really fully asleep, but you're kind of like half awake type of dream, and you wake up, and it's like, oh, I was dreaming.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, we're here.
Yeah. That's the weird thing about that is I remember we both kind of looked at each other and went, "What happened?"
We got there really quick.
Yeah.
How did we get here so quick?
Yeah,
There's no way we could have gotten here. Yeah, the clock says we shouldn't be here yet.
Right. Yeah, the clock was off. The really weird experience. And as I said, as I've looked into these things, this is what a lot of abductees base or go through, and they find that they're missing time, and so yeah. I think perhaps we could have been abducted and we just don't recall. We don't remember.
Know. I don't ever recall anything about ever being abducted or anything like that. So in my mind, But I mean,
however, I went through an abduction event, and I didn't remember what happened to me. Happened back in 1988. I didn't remember any of it until one evening in 1995.
Wow, it took you that long.
Huh. And here's the thing. Here's the thing about this story. And I haven't told this story to very many people. And again, it was like we were saying before. It's because of the fact that you can't. It's hard to find a sympathetic ear. I mean, I've told this to several people, but it's been to people that I really trust. Who I don't believe are going to think of me as a crackpot, and even if they do think of me as a crackpot, But yeah, so my whole life I've been interested in UFOs, but I haven't really believed in them. I didn't think it's not as though I don't believe that there is alien life form some sort of alien life form out there. I just don't think that they have much interest in us, and so I had always thought that. One evening in 1995, I had a friend of mine by the name of Clay, and he was a huge believer in UFOs. Anyway, he had one of those companion books for the X-Files, and he was sitting there trying to convince me that these things exist. Now that and I'm kind of thumbing through the companion book, and it has pictures from the TV series in it. And I just happened to come along, and I'm glad I was sitting down when this happened, because I just happened to come along this one picture, and I don't know if it's Fox Mulder or who it is, but it's some guy reaching up, standing there reaching up, and he's almost pointing to a big triangle with 3 lights at the points in the sky. And it's not really big or anything like that. But anyway, I saw that and immediately blacked out and had all these memories just flood back to me. And I remember just falling back in my chair. Like I said, I'm glad I was sitting down because I would have fallen. And all these memories came back to me. And when I came to, my girlfriend and Clay were kind of like over me, like, "Are you okay?" kind of thing, And I said, "That's it. That's it." But it's not it. It's bigger. So this is my story. I just wanted to preface this with that, because again, I mean, I didn't remember this till 1995. So in 1988, I was homeless, and I had a roof over my head because I was living out of my car. I had this little Hyundai GLS, I remember. And but I didn't have a place to stay. So I was living out of my car, sleeping in my car. And at nighttime, there was this one specific rest stop off the I-10 freeway on going eastbound. And I used to go there. And the reason I would go to that place is because it generally didn't have many people there, and I didn't have to worry about being bothered, So, and I don't really recall where it was, but it was eastbound from like Haven, the Haven exit. And so anyway, so I was going there one evening, and I want to say this would be back in May of 1988. And so I was going there, and at the Haven exit, the freeway had been blocked off, like for construction kind of thing. So the freeway had been shut down. So I got off, and I knew that there was another way to get to where I was going, but it meant that I had to go all the way up Haven and cross over on Highland and go around. So basically, I could just kind of like do a loop. And so anyway, so that's what I did. I got off on Haven, and I was going up Haven, and I turned on Highland. Now these days, Highland is very populated. You know, there's all kinds of houses there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, back then, however, it was all grape fields, you know, for vineyards. You know, I mean, that's all it was. There was nothing there. No lights, no nothing. I mean, it was just. And so anyway, so I'm going down Highland, and there's nothing around me. Again, there's no street lights or anything around, you know, and so you're just basically plowing through a field, you know. So I go over this hill that was there, and as soon as I get over this hill, I notice this light off in the distance, and it was a relatively small light. It looked a little bigger than a star, but no bigger than we would normally see a plane. And it wasn't blinking or anything. It was just there. And just as I noticed this ball of light came up next to my driver's side window, and I would say it was probably about 6 feet from my window, and it was matching my speed. So it was just.
And the other one was still ahead of you?
And the other one was still ahead of me.
Okay.
So I'm like looking at both of these things simultaneously. I'm surprised I wasn't in an accident. You know, and I'm watching this thing, and the thing next to me, that's next to my car, suddenly it starts to pulse. And then it takes off, just light speed. And it joined with that other light. Now, as I'm getting closer to that other light, it's obviously getting bigger. And I started to notice that it's got some sort of structure to it. And it's black, you know, but it's got this light emanating from it. Anyway, so as I'm going along, I don't see the other ball of light again. But as I'm going along, the thing's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the time I got close enough to be essentially underneath it, it was a great big black triangle. And I want to say it was probably the size of a football field, okay. You know, about 100 yards. And it too had lights that were on at each point of the triangle. But beyond that, it had different colored lights that would move and snake underneath it. And when I say different color lights, I mean like the spectrum, like red, yellow, green, blue, you know, and they were just moving all over the underside of this thing and snaking. And so I'm mesmerized by this thing, and I didn't even notice at first that my car had stalled because I'm still moving, you know, but my car had stalled out. And as I'm coming to a stop, I'm just mesmerized by this thing.
Is the side that you're seeing of the ship type thing, the triangle, what type of surface? You're saying lights, but is it like on a flat surface, is it like got like rivets or?
No, it was totally smooth, and yeah, I mean, and the whole thing was like it was matte black, but it was totally smooth, you know. I mean, and I would say that, as I said, I mean, it was probably 100 yards long, you know, about the size of a football field, and I'm trying to give some sort of point of reference as to the height of the thing, but I would say it would be about this, probably the height of like a 2-story building.
Okay.
And I remember, and one of the reasons I was so mesmerized by the thing, because I was thinking, how can something so large just be hovering in the air? You know, I mean, because there was no, I mean, it's not as though it was on stands or anything like that. It was just there in the air, totally quiet, totally silent. And then, anyway, so when I finally came to a halt, when my car finally stopped, I had a sunroof in the car. So I opened it up and I kind of poked my body up through it, and to see this thing. And as I'm looking up there, I didn't realize that there were 3 Jeeps in the road in front of me. And I didn't notice them until I heard somebody from behind me say, "Sir, sit back down." And I turned around and looked at him, and it was this guy, and he was, we talk about Men in Black, and he didn't come across like that. I mean, it's not as though he had the sunglasses or anything like that on. But he was a dark-haired guy, and he was in a suit. And I remember that on his right arm, he had like a patch. Do you remember how like the Nazis used to have the swastika patch? Well, this one, it wasn't a swastika, but it was a white patch. Not a patch, an armband. I should call it an armband. And it had some sort of insignia on it, and it kind of reminded me of the nuclear, the nuclear sign. The tri-point thing.
A nucleus?
No. When they have what is it called? When
the symbol?
The symbol for nuclear. Yeah, it kind of looked like that, but it was a little different. And he was black.
And where was the man in black? The man in black.
He was standing right next to my car.
Okay.
And again, I mean, I had been looking up at the thing,
so you didn't see
so I didn't even know he had approached. So he startled me, and so I turned around and, "Yes, sir." I mean, I don't know who the guy is, but he commanded some authority over me, apparently, And so I said, "Yes, sir," and I sat back down. And it's when I sat down that I noticed the alien that was accompanying him. And it was a little dude. I would say he was probably about 3 or 4 feet tall. And he was what you would consider a typical gray. And as much as I was mesmerized by the ship, I was mesmerized by this thing's eyes. And I think it's because the lights from the thing, those squiggly lines that were that I told you about, were kind of reflecting in his eyes. And so I'm just staring at this thing. And I couldn't take my eyes off of him. And the guy, for lack of a better term, the Man in Black, kind of knocks on my window and motions me to roll it down. So I rolled down my window. And he asked me, he says, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm just going to a rest stop to get some sleep." He says, "Well, you're a long way off, aren't you?" And I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "But the freeway was shut down. I'm trying to explain my situation." And I said, "I don't know what's going on here, and I don't really want to know. So if you can just let me go, I'm not going to say a word about this. I don't know what you guys are doing, and I don't really want to know." And he said, "It's too late for that." So I'm thinking, oh, Christ. So he motions for me to get out of the car. He says, "Step out." So I do. And then the creature kind of walks up to me. And when I say walk, they don't walk right. They don't walk like a normal person walks. They almost hobble a little bit. But, and there's nothing graceful about them. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. They look almost like they would be graceful.
Yeah. No, not really. Not in my experience, anyway. So, and the thing comes up to me, and the thing looks at me and then looks at the guy that's standing there. And it was almost as though they were communicating with each other. And because the guy then kind of nods at the creature. And he says to me, he says, "They want to take you aboard." And I'm like, "I don't want to go aboard." And the thing reached out and touched my hand. And when it did, I felt totally compliant. It was like all my fears of the thing or anxieties of the thing left me completely. And I remember walking with the thing into the grape field under the craft. And I don't remember anything else after that until I'm on the ship.
Okay, when he touched you, could you literally feel him?
Oh, yeah.
What did he feel like?
Kind of like a soft plastic. It was a very strange feeling.
Okay. Was he warm or cold?
Honestly, I can't remember if it was warm or cold.
Okay.
I don't remember that. But Yeah. Anyway, but they had a weird feeling to their skin, if it was skin at all. And I'm kind of thinking it wasn't skin, that it was some sort of bodysuit kind of thing. But anyway, so I remember getting up under the craft, but I don't remember how we got on the craft. I mean, the next thing I remember is that we were, or I say we because there were others there, but I was on a slab, and it was a metal slab, but it was like form fitted to my body, and I couldn't move.
Like a memory foam metal?
Kind of like that, yeah, very much so. But I couldn't move, and I wasn't strapped in or anything like that, but I was totally immobile. The only thing I could move were my eyeballs. And so I'm trying to get a bearing of where I am, and trying to look at the place. And the place inside seemed monstrous to me. But there were, through my peripheral vision on either side of me, I could see there were other people on board as well, on their own slabs, you know. I remember I couldn't speak, and the next thing I know, I've got like 4 of these things all around me, and they don't have instruments or anything that I recall. They didn't have, it's not as though they anal probed me or anything like that. If they did, I don't remember it. I do remember one of them came up next to my head, and I got a very distinct feeling that it was female. And she put her hand on my forehead, and I don't recall anything after that. From that point. However, later on, I remember walking with her, and I remember being able to look outside the ship, and I could see my car down on the street below. And I remember her trying to show me something, and it was like a map, like as though she was trying to communicate that this is where they're from, you know, and this and that. And she also asked me my thoughts on religion.
How did she ask you?
Like in my mind. Okay. But see, and that's the thing. She was trying to communicate, like in my mind, through telepathy about the map thing, and I didn't really understand what she was what she was trying to convey.
Now, you're saying a map thing. Was this like on a computer screen?
No, yeah, it was kind of like you know those no, you know those big plastic whiteboards for
okay.
Yeah, but you can see through them. They're transparent.
Okay.
It was like that, and it was pretty big. You know, 5 feet by 5 feet. It was pretty large, and it had lights on it. I remember, you know, like to indicate planets and stars and that kind of thing. But I didn't really understand where she was going with the thing. But anyway, then she asked me about religion, and I understood that, you know, and I told her what I thought about religion, you know, and but no, you look like you wanted to ask me something.
Yeah, when you were lying there before this happened, what did you see around you? You said you could see other people there, but was there like machines?
Yeah, I would say there were.
I picture like a hospital with, you know, like little all computers.
It was very
all over the place
it was very dark. It was like dark gray.
Okay.
And everything that was like a metal. And I remember there was like a catwalk. Looking down toward my feet, I could see there was a large catwalk.
So there was another floor.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and there was a staircase that went to it. And again, it was all flat gray, dark gray metal.
Were there a lot of these screens, clear screens around, or
no? What do you mean by screens?
The screen like she showed you the map on?
No, there was just the one,
just
and
the one.
And it was in a different room. This was in a different room, yeah. So, and in that room, I noticed there was some dashboard things. You know, I mean, like it was control boards, that kind of thing. And I mean, I have no idea what they were meant for or anything like that. But anyway, so after that, I don't really recall a lot, aside from waking up in my car at the top of Haven Avenue, what I assumed was the next morning. It was like dawn. And when I woke, I remember there was a deer looking into my window from the passenger side. And
That's
I thought, and I didn't remember anything that had occurred. All I remembered was going down Highland Boulevard, and so I thought it was weird that I didn't remember getting to the top of Haven Avenue, which is, I mean, listeners and viewers, if you don't know what I'm talking about, they're roads that run perpendicular to each other.
Right.
And
you had to turn a corner somewhere.
Right. And so again, all I remembered was that I was going down Highland Boulevard, I guess it is. And when I woke up, I was at the top of Haven.
And the top of Haven Avenue, for people who don't know, is right up against the mountains.
Yeah. And I was like right there at the end where it turned into a dirt road. And again, this deer was looking in. So again, I didn't recall any of this. I thought it was weird that I ended up where I was, but I didn't remember any of this until 1995.
Kind of like when we experienced that time thing loss. I can understand where you're talking about, how did you get from here to here?
Right.
Why you would think that possibly we had gone up too at one point.
Yeah. And like I said, I didn't remember till 1995, and all these memories, that whole story, that's not what I remembered immediately in 1995. I had a lot of memories flood back to me in that one experience, but even today, I'll have a new memory pop up about the thing, so these are memories that have come back to me over the years.
Right.
But yeah, creepy, weird,
Very creepy.
very weird.
Now,
And so, like I said at the start of the show, we don't necessarily believe in a lot of stuff. We might believe in some things, but we're not conspiracy theorists. But we are both very into aliens, and the reason being is because we know they exist. I'm thoroughly convinced. For the longest time, like I said, I wouldn't even talk about this with anybody because I thought they would think I was crazy.
Now, my question to you too is that now you've had another experience where you saw a weird thing out here not just too long ago.
Yeah.
And now, when you saw that, how did it make you feel? You might want to tell about the experience too.
Yeah. Well, I think I talked about it once before on the show, but my wife and I both smoke, and we were out on our patio, and where we live, the patio faces east, and here in Las Vegas, and so, but we have this wide open area to the north of us, and so we can see the sky pretty well out there, and that is pointing out toward like Nellis Air Force Base and Groom Lake, Area 51. And anyway, so we're out there and we're having a cigarette, and it's broad daylight, not a cloud in the sky. And this, I happen to be facing north, and I see this black spot. I don't know what else to call it, but it was almost cigar shaped. The more I looked at it, the more it looked like it was cigar shaped. And it's moving slowly east across the sky. And then suddenly it just disappears. It's just gone. I mean, and again, it's not as though there were clouds in the sky that it could have like slipped behind a cloud or anything like that. It wasn't like that at all. It just disappeared. And so I'm sitting there going kind of dumbfounded, looking at this, and then suddenly it appears again, and it's moving westward now. And so I'm watching it, and then it didn't disappear again, but it turned around and started going back eastward. And at that point, I turned to my wife. I said, "Look at this thing. Can you see this thing, or am I imagining things?" She's, as I pointed at her, and she said, "Yeah, I can see it." I said, "Now watch it." I said, "I'm betting it's going to disappear again." She said, "Disappear?" I said, "It did it before. It disappeared and it came back." And so we're sitting there watching it, and suddenly, yeah, it did it again. It totally disappeared.
Wow.
And this time it didn't come back.
So,
but yeah.
How did it make you feel seeing that?
How did it make me feel?
Yeah, did it bring back memories of that?
No,
did it make you feel nervous that they were coming back or
no,
anything like that?
No.
Or?
Because the thing is, I'm not afraid of aliens. I mean, a lot of people seem to think that there's something to be feared, and I don't think that they're that at all. I find them more interesting than anything else.
It sounded like when you were telling the story, though, that you were at that point you were pretty frightened.
Initially, but since that experience, I feel no trepidation toward it at all. If an alien craft suddenly appeared out of the sky in front of me, it wouldn't bother me a bit. I'd say, hey guys.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I would be not as intimidated as most people. I'm one of those people that's not intimidated very easily by anything unless it's showing some type of aggression.
Yeah.
So, or if you're a spider. I don't like spiders.
And that's the thing. I was not made to fear these things. I mean, I felt totally comfortable around them. Now, like I said, when I was on that slab, I don't remember what happened. I remember that the thing put her hand on my head, and it was almost as though she was putting me out. So what happened while I was on that slab? I haven't the slightest clue, and I hope, honestly, that I don't ever remember, because I think it would be pretty traumatizing. From some of the recounts that I've heard from other abductees, It's nothing nice, And so I don't know that I want to remember. What I have now are interesting memories. I don't want nightmares, So, but yeah. But anyway, so yeah, I had that experience when I was living in California in 2012. What's the name of that big mountain? There was Mount Baldy, and there was the bigger pointed
McKinley?
one. No, I want to say Gregorio. No, it's not Gregorio.
I don't remember.
Anyway, there's this other mountain there, and I was living in Alta Loma, and I was outside again having a cigarette.
Claraboya, are you thinking about?
No, I don't remember. Anyway, so I'm outside with my girlfriend on her patio, and her patio faced this mountain, and there was a light that was going up and down at the top of that mountain, almost like a helicopter would, but it certainly wasn't a helicopter. It was a solid light. It wasn't blinking or anything like that. And so yeah, it just did that for a while, and then it just landed, and then it was gone. Yeah, I mean, but it did this for a good 20 minutes or so.
Interesting.
And Dana and I were just like, what the hell is that thing? And she even got some binoculars and couldn't really make out what it was other than, a light. But
yeah, that's the problem. I mean, that's why, you don't see any good photos or videos of a lot of this stuff too, is they just can't pick it up. It's too far away.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. And in fact, we were talking about that recently, about why there aren't more UFO reports when everybody and their mother has a smartphone anymore. And not all the time, you don't always have it on you. In fact, that situation that we saw out here on the patio here with that black cigar thing looking, the thing that disappeared, I didn't have my phone on me. And had I gone in to get it, it would have been gone by the time I got back, and so, yeah.
And I didn't have, I don't even have a smartphone. Mm-hmm. I would have to do the same thing, run in and grab a tablet to look and videotape anything like that. And
would have been gone.
It's going to be gone.
Yeah.
I think you have a better chance of grabbing it if you were already out there filming something and see something, and I think that happens more than.
Yeah.
Oh wait, let me pull out my phone and turn it on so I can get that thing that just went zipping across the whole sky.
Yeah, exactly. It's like photographing lightning. You got to be there right then.
Yeah, we tried that too, but it's hard.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so what do you say? You want to get out of here?
Yeah.
All right.
Don't forget, though, if you guys have your experience, to go to the link that we dropping down here and tell us your story. We'd like to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no matter what it is, if you want to talk about a conspiracy theory, let us know. If you've had an experience with Bigfoot, if you've had an alien experience or a UFO experience, ghosts. If a lot of people have ghost stories. A lot of people have had encounters with ghosts.
We'll be telling our ghost stories here soon.
Yep. So, but yeah, so definitely I'll click that link if you're interested in being on the show. And we do our video interviews through Zoom, and so really all you'll need is a webcam, and so that's about it. Don't forget to like and follow us at Facebook and Twitter, and follow, and share our videos and our audio podcasts. We love our followers, and drop us a comment or two. Tell us what you think. And also, one more thing, I want to bring this up again. Don't forget that we have a merch page over at TeePublic, and all kinds of cool stuff there. So check it out. But anyway, until next time, keep thinking and question everything. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe, and click that little bell so you can get a reminder every time we upload a new episode.